I was hoping to get away without taking off the flywheel. You can see a bolt sticking over there. I had doctored in a bit of a bolt in such a way that I filed it in a wedge that when it tapped in, it got caught. And then I tried getting a screwdriver in on one side to catch the flat edge of the nut, and the idea was that I would tighten her in and it would catch the back edge and it would pull it out. But any screwdriver I had, including the thinnest one, the longest one, it ended up getting in so far then that you couldn't actually turn it because the screwdriver was wedged in here, and it was click past each time, and the further I went in, the harder it was getting. So I charged up the impact. I watched Bundy Bear shed, and he used an impact on his, and had I done that earlier, it doesn't turn the engine, and I wouldn't have run into the issues I'm in. So it started loosening too, so it's easy to loosen more. If not, I'll go to a friend there that has a Milwaukee one. Last one. Okay. There we go. So we've all them out. So we're just going to have to take off the flywheel, tap out the spigot bearing the old-fashioned way. And sure, look, what about it? I just wanted to try while I was at it the little tricks. The grease trick with the pin that's nearly the same width and all of that. I wanted to try all of that, and I tried it. I have to take him out and tap him out with a punch, that's alright. But look, it's all about the tricks, isn't it? And we'll just tap this bolt out with a punch and come back and get the rest of them out. These flywheels now, because you don't have throne or fod, fairly heavy, so you have to be careful. Sometimes they'll fall straight off, and other times they're on down, you have to kind of lever them off. But look, we'll take our hand anyway, whatever we do. A piece of timber down there anyway. So we'll take out these and see. There's some bolts, I have to give it to them. So that's the last one there. Doesn't look like it wants to go shifting there so far, so we'll just take our time because I don't want lymph falling on my ankle. Right, she's loose. Okay, so we'll start levering that. I might put down a little bit of timber there just to catch it because it's greasy and all of that. It flips out with the hands, we don't want to go and making shit into place. I'm going to give it a nudge here to the grow bar, and it's starting to come off handy enough. So we'll see now what way I want it. I might be better off just letting it. I let the camera back for a start because it could roll anyway at all. They're just awkward. There's a good chance it'll hit the jack stand there and start going this way. But look. If I just get it loosened enough to lift it off, it'd even be better, but there's a good chance she'll just go and fall. Now, two people, you get them both levers straight off instead of me going forward and back. I might have to put the timber on that side, and if it keeps going back in. That, my friends, is textbook, so it is. There's the hole in the back of the crankshaft there that I had full of bloody grease. So we'll have a look now, see is that crankshaft seal leaking. If it is, we'll have to replace that too. That could be our issue as well, with oil getting on onto the clutch. So we'll have a look at that. For the first job we're going to do, clear a bit of space over here on the workbench. We'll bring you over here and have you ready. Clear a bit of space here. Yesterday evening we were working on the tank. I just tried it there with the cap and it's functioning well. So that is set lovely. The kind of silicone stuff that they had around it was, we'll say, a stopgap kind of a fix. But what we did is hopefully going to be a little bit more permanent. Now, there's a bit of space clear there. I'm just going to go and lift it over here now. Yeah, look at it. Christ, above there was weight in that. I suppose we're better off tapping it out the way it came in. The bearing was tapped in. So we want to make sure this thing wasn't throwing oil everywhere. Mind you, it does look like the rear crankshaft seal is a little bit damp. And there is our bastard of a bolt there that we were trying to doctor into becoming a bearing pullers. And it would have worked fine, but you just don't have the room with a screwdriver to stop that nut from turning. And the further you go in, the more she catches. I'll try and get that nut off there. And sure, look, if I can't, you end up damaging it anyway then. Had it worked, it would have been a great success. But well, I've actually filed this down to God knows what size to get it in that will be whole in the first place. Hardly. But if I tell you another thing, it tells you the quality of the modern nuts and bolts, because it was fiercely easy to file. So get that off out of the way. That's not going to go helping us take out. Throw that nut away, because that's no good to anyone. Right, we'll throw that up in a bit of timber and tap that out. I think it needs to go up in timber. No, it actually doesn't. So we just get a socket that fits that, and we'll tap them out. So we'll bring over the sockets. It's fairly big, lad. Might even go one size more. Chance them there. Give them a tap at a lump hammer. A lot of people don't replace these, and it does cause issues. It's not hard to replace them. Just tap them level. Yeah, she's been in there a while. They're just a roller bearing, a ball bearing, I should say. Just a little bit lumpy in places. You spin that at 2000 revs or 2200 revs flat out, like, and you get that input shaft starting to wobble a bit, along with the big thick gasket on the other end that's pushing out the input shaft from the roller taper bearing. It's not going up in the taper. Right, so we can do a degrease on that. That's no bother. This face here especially, don't want to be touching it with greasy hands. And we're going to go over now and have a look at the back of that crank seal. We'll take off this. I have a feeling that seal, put a new seal in it to hell. If we're going taking it off, we're not going to go putting it back on. I have them all loosened off there with the ratchet. It's all of them out. So let's, oh sure, it's stuck on with gasket goo. I'll go and get something just to tap. Maybe a bit of a screwdriver or something just to get that. You know yourself, that red RTV stuff, it does really stick it to it. Where you need a kind of a nice strong sharp screwdriver. Should come out handy enough. Could do it being longer now, screwdriver. So there's a punch mark on that on the top, but sure we know it's the top because it has its number on it there, and it's corresponding there, the punch mark. Yeah, we'll try there now and see if we can get it. We'll get it off some way, shape or form anyway. It's just the bloody sticky stuff. That red stuff is like, it's all over that, so that's not going to seal that in. Like, you need epoxy or something like that, or a new one, although it does look new. Right, we'll have to go with something a bit heavier, I'd say. It looks to me now that that seal has gone hard, and that's what happens though. And I can see gaps all around it, so this is going to have to come off. So I'll have a bit of a tap there. I'll get a few different screwdrivers, different lengths, and I'll get that off and we'll come back there and with a bit more progress done. This is the proper screwdriver for now, and straight in. So we'll have to make a gasket anyway. But that's all right. Oh, yowl, yeah. That whole seal isn't great in place, it's there, all right. More importantly, you have to make sure the end of the crank here is perfectly clean, because it has to run it. So we'll get the degreaser wipes and all of that. Cover that off with cloth. We'll get all of this off. See, I hope it's not leaking in behind here. That's what I'm hoping with the bloody RTV. Although, wait a second now. It's running down there. And that's going to run down there now that we have this. That we have this off anyway. This is the top and this is the bottom here. And it's wet there. So what does that tell you? I suppose it tells you she was leaking and it's wet in there. So regardless, we'll tap that out and tap in a new one to help. Okay, well that's all right. That is all right. Yeah, so may as well go and tap that. Tap that out. And fit a new one, because that's leaking on your clutch. Well, it's not going to be much of a clutch now, is it? So you don't have to be too fussed about how we tap this lad out. I'm just going to use a brass drift. Yeah, it's hard to know, but just don't like looking at that stuff. Like, there's no need for it. Like, there's no need for it at all, lads. just messy. We'll clean all of that up. Get the wire brush and drill and give it a good clean up and get rid of all of that. Get rid of the gasket off that. And we'll come back when it's done, because you don't want to be watching me doing that now. And we'll show you how she looks then. Clean down well. All that RTV, the gasket goo is gone. We're just going to give this, giving it a bit quick just go of the wire brush. This is where it goes onto the back of the crank. It has to be perfectly clean and flat, because that's going to be spinning fairly fast. And we cut off the gasket that was on that there. So it's just degrease or wipe, and maybe give this a little bit of love, because there's a fair groove in it now from the old seal. So I'm going to put a thicker gasket on this to push the seal back slightly onto fresher metal, and we should get a better seal on it, because that is fairly well grooved. Like, it's actually, you'd wonder now. And to be honest with you, there's more of a groove on the top, so it could be letting oil than the sides, so it could be letting oil in and then, you know, all of that. So we'll go for a slightly thicker gasket that was on it, and that'll just hopefully push the seal out that little bit onto the fresher metal. And speaking to lads that have been working on these engines for a while, that is a way around this, because you do have all of this to play with. Like, you know, you can bring it out a good bit if you have to. All it has to do is keep the oil from coming out there, keeping it in there. That's basically all we have to do with that. So that's where we're at. So I've ordered the seal and the gasket, put that onto the parts list as well. What else can we be doing? I've ordered 2 new wheel bearings, because this is in a bad state. So and I've ordered brake linings as well, because the brakes aren't great, and I'll have to go in there, and I prefer to have them and just have them done, to be honest. So the safety, what we're looking for is brakes, clutch, and obviously that hubs aren't going to coming off, kingpins and all of that. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm happy we got that off. I'm happy that that impact gun did the job. Ring gear isn't good nick, I have to say. Someone replaced that. But when you see the likes of the throw out bearing or the release bearing, how bad it was, and the spigot bearing, you wonder sometimes why people just don't go that little bit further. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to just clean this down a bit with the wire brush. You can see that there's coolant leaking out of it, and I'm going to epoxy that with that clear epoxy. The rest of them look good. I don't really know about that. I might clean that down as well to hell in epoxy. It's just, it's awkward when the engine's in. It's awkward. I remember one of them rusted out on my Ferguson 20 diesel behind me, and I had to use a handle of a brush to get a new one in at an awful angle. Like, it was awkward as hell. So might just clean them down for them, put clear epoxy around them, and it'll have plenty of time to set. So we'll get the drill and we'll do that. It's one of them jobs, could cause an issue down the road, might never. But you can see there is coolant coming out, or was coming out of that at some time in the past. Okay, degrease or wipe on that, and we'll be away. Same treatment for this lad here. Right, we'll just change the wire brush there to get in a bit deeper. That stuff is not going to stop water from coming out anyway, so we'll put a different head on the wire brush and get all that red off it. Right, so one thing we're definitely going to have to do with this is get out the polisher and get this smooth as hell, to try and get that groove not out of it, but I need to get it smooth. Bit of metal polish. The beauty of this metal polish is it nearly runs in front of the polisher, so you can kind of work it the whole way around. And we'll throw a little bit under the bottom here and we'll work that around as well. The seals don't like rough surfaces, of course. Give that a wipe off now with paper and just see does it look a bit better. Seals like smooth surfaces. Rough is not going to cut it like, well, it's going to cut the seal, but yeah, it's a lot better. So I think though at the same time, if I was to put on that seal cover and get the seal to run into that groove again, I think we're just going to have problems. So I'm going to try and get the seal to come out, even if it means bringing that cover to the machine shop and getting to make a shim, and get my vernier calipers and measure out a little bit. We have the rest of this to work with. I'm going to have to do this with my own 20 diesel as well, because that got the full, you know, gasket and seals kit. Epico, and that's leaking, and the one, my other Ferguson 20 diesel in the home place is leaking as well there. So I'd say basically what's happening is the seal is running in the same groove. Doesn't matter how new it is, it's losing its tension running down into that groove. That groove is, you know, it's 2 or 3 thou thick, like, you know. So we need to get it out onto this surface here a bit. So I'll talk to the owner and see what he says, but I do think the best thing to do is just to get a quick shim made up. I can make 2 gaskets for it, and that would help. I'll have a chat with the owner and see, and 2 thick gaskets would help. That would be, what would it be, a mil thick, 1 millimeter. It would move it back 1 millimeter, so I'll have to get the vernier and see where is 1 millimeter going to bring me. But that's 1 millimeter before it's compressed. That's when you just measure the thickness of the gasket paper. You tighten that in, it's going to go down to probably 3/4 of a mil. Like, it's probably not going to be enough to do the job. So I want to do it right. I don't want it leaking with another new seal. I've ordered a gasket for it as well, so we'll see what thickness that is. If it's anyway thin, I'm going to go and put, if it's thinner than my gasket paper, I'm not going to even fit it. I'll just put on 2 of my own, and that should bring it back enough onto the fresh metal. But these are the things you run into. I'm going to have to split my own tractor and sort that. I am, and I'm going to do it because it's annoying me, and I'll be looking for something to do one of the days. But what I can do now is go and mix up a bit of epoxy and get them 2 frost plugs cleaned up a little bit. Little thing I want to do for the owner, because I have them there in stock, is fit the brake retaining clip. These are fitted to later tractors, 1954 onwards. They had this. The earlier ones just had the little ratchet on them there, the little pawl or whatever you want to call them. So I think they're a little bit fiddly sometimes. I have to figure out what way it goes again. I think you put it in and you spin it around or something like that. I know it has to end up like that, so wait a second, I think it's something like this, is it? Yeah, there it is. And there's a hole in there, and you just line her up. Might need the pliers, I have the pliers there. And what it does is, if you want to take off your brakes now, you just pull that back and then it comes off. You want to put them on, you want to take them off, pressure. Just makes life easier. Otherwise, this thing is redundant. It's no good. So that's just a small little thing that makes life easier. So when I know I want to take them off, you just give them a hoosh with the foot and put your pressure on it. You don't have to be bending down and reaching for that little pawl there. That's awkward. So just makes life easier. So that is just a small little job I said I'd record. They're only cheap to buy, and if you have a 1954 5 or 6 20 diesel and doesn't have the spring on it, get them online and do it. It makes life easier. This is something that I think was causing a bit of an issue. It might have been causing an issue in the past, and not now. There's definitely a bit of rusty water hanging around it. I don't know how long ago it has been coming out of it. Maybe it was before the engine was done, but with the starter off, we can get in there and we're just going to err on the side of caution. It's clear as well, this stuff, so you smooth it out with your finger, then it actually doesn't end up looking very bad, you know. It'll look messy for a second now until I get that all level out. So we'll get the other one done there as well, and we'll get the other one done and we'll do a job then tidying them up a little bit. I think it's the right thing to do, because I can tell you one thing, it's not nice having to go in and try and fix it whenever all the parts are on it. And at least it's not a dirty colour that's standing out, like, you know. It really does kind of stay nice and clear. Yeah, this is a bit messy, but it's hard not to be, but it's better than coolant leaking out. The man wants to use this, he's worked for it, and I don't want this something as simple as a frost plug leaking, stopping that when I had good access to it there. It's fairly permanent stuff, this, as in, but it's not so permanent that you couldn't ever clean it back or file it back or scratch it back. It's just good stuff, like, but it'll just be, what it'll end up looking like is varnish, basically, which is fine by me, as long as it does the job. Now, I was going to cover the whole thing, because these do rust as well. So let's cover the whole thing, at least it'll look the same. It'll just look like someone went and hit it with varnish. And any left, then we'll just hit the other ones with it as well. Just where they like to leak. Use it all up. These other ones look bang on, but we have a bit left there, so we're just going to run around right where it meets that casting. And it just might mean that there'll be one less thing to be worrying about down the road. Okay, so that's just a quick job, that's all. Not necessarily something that was crying out to be done, but when it does cry out to be done, especially that little bucko in there, with everything that's in the way. This one isn't too bad. Take off your starter and your mushroom air intake, and you're in there. That's not too bad. Our crankshaft is shined up lovely, but I'm still not happy with that groove. I'll take off the camera there and show you, just so you can see. It's just too much of a groove on that, so we're going to have to work on that. I don't want to do a half-assed job and have it leaking again, especially when we're going to put in a new clutch, new spigot bearing, new throw out bearing, all of that. So that's probably about all I can do this evening. It's probably about it for this evening. So we'll leave her there, and we will get back to you when we have a little bit more to report on. Off camera there, I just put on the fuel tap, and I like to have them nice and straight, because that's just the way everything wants to line up, and it means you'll always be able to turn on and off your fuel very easily. This was turned right around the opposite way when this was hitting off the cylinder head, and you couldn't turn off the fuel. So at least now it's right, and it's also facing out the right way as well. So that is all good. That's got a flush out, as you probably saw. It's going to get another flush out and an air gun and all that before it's fitted. And this has set nicely. I'm testing it there with the cap, and I think that is going to hopefully do the trick. Anyone who wasn't watching the videos up to now, the cap is meant to have a hole in it, and what was fitted was a few of these paper kind of lads, and there was no holes at all. So you need to have a hole, because as the fuel level drops, air has to go in. So when you have that screwed on tight and there's no hole in the paper, what happens is you form a seal. So that was going nowhere. So that would eventually kind of hold the fuel there in the tank rather than allow it to flow into the fuel system. Add in a blocked tap, add in blocked filter gauzes in the lift pump. You know, it's any wonder how it wasn't running. So that's why we're here. We're here to sort all that out. We want to do it right. And I'm after giving that a hoosh with my shoulder. So we're here to sort out that stuff and try and do it right. It might take a bit more time, but when things are split and, you know, stripped down this far, we want to do it right before we go back. So that's where we're going to leave it. So we'll pick up when we hopefully have a few parts arriving that are ordered, and we'll start the refitting and rebuilding procedure then. So talk to you then.